The damp, heavy air of a typical British summer afternoon has a distinct way of holding on to secrets, of carrying the muted echoes of history down the long gravel pathways of the country's most storied estates. For centuries, the royal residences scattered across the United Kingdom have stood as silent witnesses to the shifting tides of family loyalty, public duty, and personal sacrifice. Behind the imposing stone facades and the meticulously manicured hedges, generations of the same bloodline have navigated the delicate, often treacherous balance between private emotion and public expectation. To the outside world, these grand structures represent an unbroken chain of tradition, an unyielding symbol of national identity that remains steadfast regardless of the turbulent storms gathering beyond the gates. Yet, beneath the ceremonial grandeur and the strict adherence to protocol, the human elements of love, estrangement, and longing continue to beat like a quiet, persistent drum. The modern world often views these figures through the sterile lens of media headlines and official palace statements, forgetting that the bonds forged or broken within these walls are subject to the same vulnerabilities as any ordinary family. It is against this backdrop of historical gravity and deeply rooted emotional complexity that a new chapter is quietly beginning to unfold, one that has captured the imagination of observers across the globe. As the summer sun attempts to pierce through the perpetual gray clouds of the English sky, whispering rumors have transformed into absolute certainties, setting the stage for a journey that is as much about personal reconciliation as it is about the inevitable collision of two entirely different worlds. To truly understand the weight of the upcoming days, one must look closely at the invisible threads that continue to pull individuals back to the places they once called home, even when those places are fraught with painful memories and unresolved tension. The decision to cross a vast ocean, to leave the sun-drenched tranquility of a coastal sanctuary for the unpredictable and heavily scrutinized environment of the British Isles, is never made lightly. It requires a profound willingness to confront the past, to step back into the very arena where previous battles were fought and where the scars of public division are still visible to anyone who cares to look. For years, the distance between the quiet private life established in the rolling hills of Southern California and the bustling tradition-bound reality of London has seemed almost insurmountable, measured not just in thousands of miles, but in years of unspoken words and accumulating grievances. The public has watched from afar, analyzing every gesture, interpreting every silence, and wondering if the chasm that opened up between a prince and his heritage could ever truly be bridged. This summer, however, the narrative is shifting in a way that few could have confidently predicted, as preparations are quietly being made for a return that carries an immense, almost overwhelming emotional weight for everyone involved. The anticipation building in the air is palpable, a collective holding of breath as the world waits to see how a fragmented family will react when forced into the same geographic space for the first time in what feels like an eternity. Before we dive deeper into the intricate details of this highly anticipated journey and the deep-seated hopes driving it forward, take a brief moment to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an update on the stories shaping our world. The catalyst for this sudden convergence of past and present lies within a deeply personal mission. A commitment to a cause that has long served as a defining pillar of identity for a man who once wore the uniform of his country with immense pride. The dedication required to bring an international sporting event to fruition is staggering, involving countless hours of coordination, logistical planning, and public advocacy across multiple continents. For a former military pilot, this endeavor is not merely a charitable obligation but a profound reflection of a life dedicated to service. A way to channel personal experience into a platform that honors the resilience and courage of wounded personnel from all corners of the globe. As the calendar edges closer to the monumental milestones of this prestigious event, the necessity of being physically present on British soil has become absolute, demanding a temporary departure from the peaceful routine of Californian life. The upcoming visit is anchored by a significant countdown, a precise markers of time that signifies exactly 1 year remains until the eyes of the international community will turn to the industrial heartland of England for a showcase of human triumph. This specific obligation provided the structural framework for the trip, a legitimate and undeniable reason to return to the homeland. Yet it quickly became apparent that the journey would encompass far more than just official meetings and promotional appearances. What began as a strictly scheduled professional tour has rapidly evolved into a deeply significant family pilgrimage, a deliberate choice to bring the next generation across the Atlantic to experience the sights, sounds, and atmosphere of a country that is inextricably linked to their own identity. The decision to include the youngest members of the family in this transatlantic cross marks a profound turning point in a narrative that has been characterized by physical separation and emotional distance. For two young children whose lives have been primarily shaped by the wide-open spaces, warm sunshine, and relative privacy of their American home, the United Kingdom exists largely as a collection of stories. A distant land inhabited by relatives they know mostly through digital screens and official portraits. The older of the two experienced the earliest months of infancy surrounded by the historic splendor of Windsor and the intense scrutiny of the British press, before his parents made the monumental choice to redefine their roles and seek a radically different path across the sea. The younger child, born far from the ancestral palaces and royal traditions, has had even less exposure to the complex tapestry of her father's heritage, making this upcoming journey an unprecedented opportunity to connect with roots that run deep into the soil of British history. The significance of their return cannot be overstated, as it represents the first time since the platinum celebrations of a late, legendary monarch that these children will set foot on British ground, a fact that has ignited intense interest and speculation among royal watchers and the general public alike. The sheer logistics of moving a young family across multiple time zones under the glare of global attention are daunting enough, but the true challenge lies in the emotional landscape they are about to navigate. A territory filled with potential landmines and long-standing sensitivities. As the days of June slip away and the reality of a July arrival looms closer, the question that dominates every discussion is not whether the journey will happen, but what will transpire once the aircraft touches down on the runway. The deep desire of a father to see his children interact with their grandfather, to foster a relationship that has been severely limited by geography and circumstance, is a powerful and universal human emotion that transcends titles and status. This yearning for connection, for a moment of quiet familial warmth amidst a sea of past discord, is said to be a primary driving force behind the inclusion of the little ones on this specific trip. The aging monarch, navigating the immense responsibilities of his role while dealing with personal health challenges, occupies a unique position as both the head of state and a grandfather who has had precious few opportunities to hold these particular grandchildren in his arms. The potential for a reunion is shrouded in uncertainty, with palace schedules tightly packed and the wounds of past public disclosures still tender, leaving the world to wonder if a quiet moment of healing can truly be achieved in the brief window of time available. The stage is now set, the actors are moving into position, and the atmosphere in London is charged with a quiet intensity as the final preparations are made for an arrival that promises to test the resilience of royal bonds and redefine the future of a family divided. The delicate dynamics of this upcoming high-stakes visit cannot be separated from the turbulent events that have transpired over the last few years, creating a thick layer of apprehension that hangs over every logistical arrangement. When the Duke and Duchess of Sussex made the monumental decision to step back from their roles as working royals, they did not just change their geographical location. They fundamentally altered the structure of their relationships with the core members of the institution. The move to the affluent enclave of Montecito, California, was meant to provide a sanctuary, a place where their young children could grow up surrounded by nature, privacy, and a sense of normalcy far removed from the relentless intrusion of the British tabloid press. For Prince Archie, who spent his earliest days within the historic and highly secure confines of Frogmore Cottage, the transition to the United States marked a complete shift in reality. Replacing the formal protocols of royal life with the relaxed rhythms of the American West Coast, Princess Lilibet, born entirely outside the royal fold in a California hospital, has grown up with a radically different understanding of family, one where the titles of king, prince, and princess are abstract concepts rather than the everyday realities of her relatives. This profound difference in upbringing adds a poignant layer of complexity to their imminent arrival in the United Kingdom. As these two young children step into a world that is intimately connected to their identity but entirely foreign to their actual lived experience, the official reason for this summer journey is deeply intertwined with the Duke of Sussex's enduring commitment to the veteran community, specifically through the global platform of the Invictus Games. Having served 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan as a British Army officer and an Apache helicopter pilot, the prince has always maintained a fierce, unwavering dedication to the physical and psychological rehabilitation of wounded, injured, and sick servicemen and women. The announcement that the vibrant industrial city of Birmingham has been selected to host the prestigious international sporting event in July of 2027 marked a significant victory for the organization, bringing the competition back to British soil for the first time since the inaugural Games took place in London over a decade ago. The upcoming visit in July is anchored by a critical milestone, a formal countdown event designed to launch the official preparations and build national momentum for what promises to be a massive undertaking. For the Duke, being physically present to spearhead this launch is an absolute priority, a duty that allows him to reconnect with his military roots and demonstrate the ongoing impact of a cause that remains the definitive highlight of his public life. Yet, while the public schedule will be dominated by meetings with organizers, local officials, and inspirational athletes, the private itinerary is what has truly captured the attention of the global public, transforming a standard promotional tour into an emotional minefield of familial expectations. The emotional heart of this entire endeavor is the profound desire of a father to ensure that his children are not entirely cut off from their paternal heritage, particularly from their grandfather, King Charles. Sources close to the family have quietly indicated that the Duke desperately wants his children to spend quality time with the monarch, recognizing that the window of opportunity for building meaningful, multi-generational bonds is precious and finite. The relationship between the king and his youngest son has been subject to immense strain, characterized by long periods of silence and brief, highly formalized meetings that offer little room for genuine personal reconciliation. The king's current reality is one defined by the immense weight of state duties, coupled with an ongoing and highly publicized journey regarding his health, which naturally limits his energy and availability for complex family gatherings. The logistical challenge of orchestrating a private, secure, and entirely peaceful meeting between the monarch and his grandchildren under these circumstances is monumental, requiring a degree of coordination between the palace staff and the Sussex security team that has rarely been achieved in recent years. The world is watching with intense curiosity to see if the king will carve out a dedicated space in his demanding summer schedule to welcome Archie and Lilibet, a gesture that would speak volumes about his personal desires as a grandfather. Irrespective of the ongoing institutional divisions, aiding another layer of profound tension to the upcoming visit is the unresolved and deeply fractured relationship between the Duke of Sussex and his older brother, the Prince of Wales. The historical closeness of the two brothers, forged through shared childhood tragedy and years of mutual support within the royal framework, has entirely evaporated, replaced by a cold, unyielding estrangement that has shown no signs of thawing. During the family's last collective gathering in the summer of 2022, when the world came together to celebrate the historic Platinum Jubilee of the late Queen Elizabeth, the two brothers maintained a strict, noticeable distance, avoiding any public interaction or private reconciliation. On that specific occasion, while the young Sussex children made headlines for their private introductions to their great-grandmother and grandfather, they did not have any interaction with their cousins, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. The absolute lack of contact between the two sets of cousins has been one of the most tragic consequences of the adult rift, ensuring that a whole generation of royal children are growing up as complete strangers to one another despite their incredibly close genetic ties. It remains entirely unclear whether any attempt will be made during this July trip to facilitate a meeting between the children, as the level of trust between the two households has reached an all-time low, making even the simplest social interaction a matter of intense strategic calculation. The deep-seated mistrust that characterizes the current relationship between the households was fundamentally solidified by a series of highly public and explosive media projects that followed the 2022 visit. The release of the raw, deeply personal 6-part docuseries on a major streaming platform, followed shortly by the publication of the Duke's unfiltered, best-selling memoir, sent shockwaves through the foundations of the royal family, exposing deep internal conflicts and personal grievances that had previously been kept strictly behind closed doors. The detailed descriptions of private arguments, physical altercations, and institutional coldness were viewed by many within the palace as an unforgivable breach of family trust. creating a wall of resentment that has proven incredibly difficult to dismantle. For the Prince and Princess of Wales, who have consistently prioritized maintaining a dignified public silence while focusing heavily on their own constitutional duties and the protection of their children, the public disclosures were deeply wounding, fundamentally changing the terms of any future engagement with the California-based couple. As the date of the July arrival approaches, the lingering bitterness from these publications forms an invisible but incredibly powerful barrier, making the prospect of a casual, warm family reunion highly unlikely, and ensuring that any interactions will be handled with the utmost caution and professional detachment by all parties involved. The complexity of navigating this imminent transatlantic arrival extends far beyond the emotional boundaries of the immediate family circle, touching upon broader questions of identity, heritage, and the inevitable passage of time. For Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, this trip represents an essential, defining confrontation with a reality that has until now existed only in the peripheral vision of their young lives. Growing up in the sunlit freedom of California, where the values of individuality, personal expression, and modern celebrity culture dominate the social landscape, they have been shielded from the rigid expectations and historical burdens that define the lives of their British cousins. The environment of Montecito, with its expansive estates, quiet beaches, and relaxed social circles, provides an idyllic childhood, but it cannot replicate the deep, centuries-old historical resonance of the land their father left behind. This journey in July is more than just a summer vacation or an official accompanying trip. It is a profound educational experience, a conscious effort by their parents to introduce them to the physical spaces, the cultural textures, and the living relatives that constitute exactly half of their biological and historical inheritance. Whether walking through the historic gardens of a royal estate or simply hearing the distinct cadence of British accents all around them, these young children are about to absorb a visceral understanding of the unique world they were born into. Regardless of the choices their parents made to alter their destiny, the broader implications of this visit also center heavily on the concept of legacy, a topic that has become increasingly poignant as the senior members of the royal family navigate the natural challenges of advancing age and shifting institutional responsibilities. The king, who has dedicated his entire life to preparing for and executing the immense duties of the crown, understands more than anyone the vital importance of family continuity and the preservation of historical bonds across generations. Despite the immense public friction and the profound personal pain caused by recent media disclosures, the fundamental tie of shared blood and ancestral history remains a powerful, unyielding force that cannot be easily erased by administrative decisions or geographical distance. For a monarch managing a demanding state schedule alongside significant personal health considerations, the opportunity to look upon his youngest grandchildren, to see his own features reflected in their developing faces, carries an undeniable human weight that transcends the strict protocols of constitutional duty. This July visit offers a rare, fleeting window of opportunity to establish a direct physical connection that no digital video call or written message could ever truly replicate, creating a living memory that Archie and Lilibet can carry with them as they grow into an understanding of their complex royal lineage. As the international community prepares its focus for the Invictus Games countdown in Birmingham, the dual nature of this highly anticipated journey becomes even more apparent, illustrating the constant interplay between a prince's public devotion and his private aspirations. The city of Birmingham, known for its rich industrial history and its resilient, vibrant community, stands ready to welcome the global sporting event with open arms, providing a fittingly robust backdrop for a celebration of human triumph and physical recovery. For the Duke of Sussex, stepping onto the stage to launch the official one-year countdown is a moment of immense professional pride, a tangible demonstration of how personal passion can be channeled into a global movement that genuinely transforms the lives of thousands of wounded veterans. Yet, as he looks out at the roaring crowds and the assembled athletes, his thoughts will undoubtedly drift to the private residence where his wife and children await his return, shielded from the public eye but deeply involved in the emotional stakes of the trip. The success of the visit will ultimately be measured by two entirely different standards: the public acclaim and organizational momentum generated for the 2027 Games, and the quiet, unpublicized steps toward healing that may or may not occur behind the closed doors of the family's private accommodations, The role of the Duchess of Sussex in this complex narrative remains a subject of intense observation and analysis. As she returns to a country where her own experiences were marked by rapid ascension, intense public adoration, and ultimately a painful and highly publicized departure, choosing to return to the United Kingdom alongside her husband and children is a powerful testament to her commitment to family unity, demonstrating a willingness to support her husband's deepest wishes for a reconciliation despite the personal challenges she faced within the British media landscape. Her presence provides a vital source of stability and comfort for Archie and Lilibet as they navigate an unfamiliar environment filled with intense security protocols and the constant underlying hum of public curiosity. By standing together as a unified family unit on British soil for the first time in 4 years, the couple is sending a clear, unambiguous message that their commitment to their children's heritage is absolute, independent of the ongoing institutional divisions that continue to define their relationship with the wider royal household. The presence of the Duchess also adds a layer of modern perspective to the journey, representing the bridge between the traditional, centuries-old expectations of the British monarchy and the contemporary, independent path they have successfully forged in the United States. Ultimately, the story of this July arrival is an unfolding human drama that reminds a global audience of the universal vulnerabilities that exist at the heart of even the most famous families in modern history. The grand palaces, the historic titles, and the relentless media scrutiny provide a dramatic, highly cinematic setting. But the core emotions driving the events are completely relatable to anyone who has ever navigated the painful complexities of family division, estrangement, and the longing for connection. As the aircraft makes its final approach over the green fields of England and the young family steps off the plane into the cool, damp summer air, a new chapter begins to write itself in real time. The world will continue to watch, to analyze every official statement, and to speculate on every private interaction. But the true significance of these days will live on in the quiet, unscripted moments between a grandfather and his grandchildren, and in the unspoken hopes of a father who traveled across an ocean to bring his family home, if only for a brief, fleeting moment in time. The paths that led them apart were long, winding, and fraught with public conflict. But the path that brings them back together this summer stands as a powerful reminder that history is never entirely finished, and that the capacity for family reconciliation always remains within reach, waiting for the right moment to emerge from the shadows of the past.